Shalom, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hesed Sabbath Fellowship. Thank you for joining us. We're virtual only based out of St. Paul, Minnesota. The phone number works if you'd like to contact us. We do the thought behind the thought, the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, your reality, our existence, what's going on in the world. We solve little pieces of Revelation each week. This is Revelation chapter 6, the sixth seal. We're working on the sixth seal plus Shavuot. That is the Jewish festival right now, the rabbinic festival on the calculated calendar. I will be celebrating Shavuot next week on June 8th on the sighted moon calendar. Okay, and so just keep that in mind. But the sun flares are a sign from God, I believe, on Shavuot. So let's see if I can get this to click and work. There we go. Okay, and you can see this big flare that popped out just on June 30th and June 31st. Huge, isn't it? That's just amazing. So keep that in mind. That's what we're talking about today. And so this huge flare occurred, and it really was an M. Okay, it wasn't even an X class flare. And also the survey that I used to study this is Enlil, the NOAA source. It's NASA, and it's also the name for Hillel, which is the name for Hasatan, which is the name for. It's just interesting, isn't it? How these names work out. Where Lucifer. So I'm citing the Enlil spiral for this, and I'm stating that this was a relatively small storm. It looked big, but it's causing KP8s and things like that on our planet, which is amazing. But that means our magnetosphere is thinning. So this is a Shavuot sign as far as I'm concerned. And so what I want you to see is that this is like solar tongues of fire during Shavuot. That's what I think is occurring. Okay, so once again, we do the thought behind the thought. We try to give you the Bible. We give you prophecy. We don't give you the fake news. We give you the real news. And we do the philosophy of eschatology. So Shavuot time, if you're a calculated calendar, Orthodox Jew, and so this is, July 1st through the 3rd is that time frame. So it's just interesting to note that. And then, of course, this huge storm comes through. And for God's wisdom ordained that the world, using its own wisdom, would not come to know him. Therefore, God decided to use nonsense of what we proclaim as his means of saving those who come to trust in it, precisely because Jews ask for signs and Greeks try to find wisdom. That's 1 Corinthians 1, 21 and 22. So these are interesting signs for those that don't know Yeshua. And so I'm citing here on the right-hand side Exodus 19, which is the Shavuot time frame with Moses. And so they were there. Israel set up camp preparing for Shavuot, according to my notes. And so that's Exodus 19, and that's the first marriage ceremony. And then the Festival of Shavuot arrived, and the believers all gathered together in one place, Temple Mount area. Suddenly there came a sound from the sky like a roar of a violent wind, and it filled the whole house where they were sitting. Then they saw what looked like tongues of fire. That's what I'm supposing is being sent out by the sun. Tongues of fire during this Shavuot time frame, which separated and came to rest on each one of them. They were all filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, which is God's Spirit, and began to talk in different languages as if they were drunk, as the Spirit enabled them to speak. So that's Acts 2. So they match up. All of these things seem to match up with the tongues of fire coming from the sun on Shavuot as a sign. Okay? So once again, it's an 8.1, 8.2. This is the Watchers telling us, more things about it. It was a coronal mass ejection of flare. And let's see here. On the second paragraph down on the right-hand side, a 10 cm radio burst indicates that an electromagnetic burst associated with a solar flare at the 10 cm wavelength was double or greater than the initial 10 cm radio background. This can be indicative of a significant radio noise or an association with a solar flare. This noise is generally short-lived but can cause interference for sensitive receivers, including radar, GPS, and satellite communication. So if the Jews are asking for signs, they're getting their signs. This is very interesting, from radio signals and blackouts and other things like that. So once again, KP8 solar storm. This is Vince Ledavina. He's, I believe, based out of Alaska. KP8 is large. None of us alive have ever seen anything like that. And so look at where I am in Minnesota, the Twin Cities there. Obviously I didn't see anything because it's smoky here from the Canadian fires, but no one living has ever experienced a KP8 or KP9. I haven't seen one yet. Everything changed in 2023. You will expect worse storms and this one launched by really a puny 8.2 M-class flare. You'll get into the X flares at some point in time, and that will blast us into the Stone Age. If your loved ones or pets become confused, add electrolytes to their diet. Pickles are great. Pickle juice is wonderful. Humans and animals will become perplexed by the proton surge. And so on September 1st and 2nd, 1859, there was an X80 solar storm flare that was much worse. But our magnetosphere was 100% power. Since 1859, our magnetosphere is thinned by 27%. You're looking for news on that. NASA reported 10% loss by 2000 from 1859 to 2000. And then ESA in Europe announced another 5% loss through 2010. And so then we assume, based on what we're seeing now, it's down by 27%. Luke 21, there will appear signs in the sun, moon, and stars, and on earth. Nations will be in anxiety and bewilderment at the sound and surge of the sea, as people faint with fear at the prospect of what is overtaking the world. For the powers, that's Zava probably, it's not in the Greek there, this is the New Testament, but it would be, and fallen angelic powers in heaven will be shaken. So God will be shaking them up. So once again, low-level auroras like we've never seen before from an M-class flare, which is a nothing burger. So I'm seeing the auroras. Others will see them all the way down to Mexico, basically. This is bizarre. Once again, this is during Shavuot. It's from an M8.2, and boy, are we seeing low-level auroras. This is from Vincent again. The BZ basically points north and south and kind of forewarns us when the storms are going to pick up. So he's saying it could pick up again and we could get above an 8 today. We'll see. I'll go out probably later on and view. I went out a little bit last night. I saw nothing. On the right-hand side, this is Ben Davidson. The math isn't mathing. The G4 level storm with these disturbances, this is a G1 or G2 level hit. That's it, not a G4. Pole shift is doing a real number on our planet. So he's showing from the magnetometers that this isn't really that big of a storm, but it's coming through. Once again, we have lost X amount of our magnetosphere, and it's going off a cliff, supposedly from about 2023 forward. So, we'll hit the sixth seal at some point in time and the sixth bowl. Once again, we're seeing all sorts of auroras. This is actually my clipping of a KP8 storm. And, during the day, you won't see the auroras as much, but we'll see it. You'll see the storms tonight down into the almost into Mexico. Amazing. Okay. So this is from Tony Phillips at Space Weather. When the first storm hit and it showed the flare off to the left-hand side, it's not an X-class. It's just them. It's just below that level. But it is interesting to note that, this occurred. And so additionally, a Type 4 radio emission lasting nearly 5 hours was detected from something during the UTC times. Type 4 emissions occur in association with major eruptions on the sun and are typically associated with strong CMEs and solar radiation storms. That's from the Watchers. Radio blackout forecast from May 31st through June 2nd, Shavuot. And let's see, that's from NOAA. Okay, Space Weather News, Ben again. Been in solar storms all day, and this is just them tracking through May 28th, kind of level storms, and then stronger on the 29th, and then now stronger on the 30th and 31st and the 1st. So more satellites, jets, and radio signals and electrical grids are going to crash in 2025. Our magnetosphere has thinned quickly since 2023, and severe solar storms are occurring nearly daily. That's a Ben Davidson type of a clip with me adding in some points. Videos have been glitching or stalling throughout the day, regardless of platform. Apps have spontaneously closed a few times. Surprisingly, no headaches, but there could be. Electronic sounds have seemed louder several times today, too, but that's always in flux, so who knows? So, this is Ben again. Sunspots are higher, solar flares are higher, solar wind is higher, geomagnetic excursion is higher, the pole shift is coming, and so those are not the record high. So yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, I'm reading it wrong. The sunspots are actually lower, the flares are lower, even though we're noticing them more, they're lower. We're just noticing the auroras. On the other side, the higher side, is the auroras, the space dust, the relative DST, KP, the KP indexes, things like that. So that's from Ben on the 25th. Well, now even more so. So Ben cites down below, it is not the sun itself that is doing anything record-breaking, not sunspots, solar flares, nothing in the solar wind, and resulting geomagnetic storms. However, the auroral production of what the sun does send our way, the space dust levels, and the relative solar storm disturbance compared to the solar wind data, those are all off the charts, and it's been that way for a while, especially since early 2023. Again, I'm always citing that. Those outsized impacts, by comparison, are because the planetary protection, Earth's magnetic field, is weakening. Okay, so ionosphere hole opened by Musk. Yeah, he sent up his SpaceX, and he literally had it blow up when it was going through the ionosphere, which is, really important to us, and it caused a sheer shock wave and an explosion, and it was open for 30 to 40 minutes before the ionosphere naturally stitched itself back together again. This is from the Daily Mail. I'm arguing this could be opening up portals for fallen angels. It's there in Isaiah 24:18. So just keep that in mind. It's just interesting. This was May 12th, and that was when Elon Musk's latest failure triggers phenomenon that's never been seen before. Once again, another never seen before. Now, back in 2022, Elon Musk lost 40 of 49 satellites, Starlink satellites. Okay? Well, now he's losing more again. And so the sun appears to be killing off Starlink satellites. Okay? Doctors sound alarm over massive spike in Americans suddenly dropping dead from unexplained heart attacks. As the sun ramps up, you'll have more heart attacks. You'll have more issues with health. You'll feel miserable. Your teeth will hurt. Eat some pickles. Drink some pickle juice. Okay, but you'll notice more heart attacks too. So just be aware. And there are other reasons too, from the fourth seal and the jibby jabber, that can cause these heart attacks too. But now, when you add the extra proton surge, you're going to have more heart attacks. So this is interesting. I want you to see this. This is from insurance companies now, that we do not insure for any loss caused directly or indirectly by electromagnetic disturbances, solar radiation, solar flares, solar rays. Such loss is excluded regardless of any other cause or event contributing concurrently or in sequence to the loss. This exclusion applies whether or not there was any widespread damage, or whether it was not caused by human activity or an act of nature. There you go. Now you're starting to see that this is becoming public. Okay? And on the right-hand side, Ben's having fun with this, saying, I've decided I'm selling insurance for the disaster cycle. Catastrophic solar kill shot for solar micronova, for collapse of civilization, for geomagnetic pole shift, for continent-sized tsunamis. Yeah. So I'm having the actuarials know, obviously, and over there I'm giving you the Christmas story where it was soap poisoning. Well, in this case, it's solar poisoning. Okay, so we have holes. We have a South magnetic anomaly down in South America, but we also have other holes across the planet. And so concerning the power outage in Europe, Earth pole shift hits another level. So Ben just keeps on citing the stuff. This is way back in April. This was not the sun. It was not Russia. It was not China. It was not hacking. It was not the extreme heat. This was a weak spot in Earth's magnetic field, allowing a solar wind plasma penetration event. So you can see how there are weaknesses and there are strengths, there are highs, there are lows, and there's that huge low over South America. So Scott Lewis, of course, they don't know why Spain's lights went out. The same people who worship windmills and shut down real power are now scratching their heads as civilization crumbles in the dark. Energy is survival. Without it, nations don't debate policy. They collapse, they burn. If we don't tear this madness out by the root, we won't lose our power. We lose everything, potentially. So once again, there are strengths and weaknesses. There's the South Atlantic anomaly, which is over South America. And it's just interesting. There are highs and lows, and they move. And the little holes pop up in the oddest places. And then you have blackouts and burnouts. So this is Ben's comment again. At some point, Earth's weakening magnetic field will weaken so much that the planet will not be able to sustain even a moderate disruption like an M8.2 in the solar wind. When that occurs, the grids will go down, and there will be no more power as the sun continually ramps up toward the micronova, and as Earth's magnetic field continues to weaken, cosmic radiation will bombard the planet more and more. At some point, the solar system will enter the point where the galactic magnetic reversal occurs. The sun will go dark for 3 days, followed by a solar micronova, and the planet will go like twist. Okay, and I'll show you the slide in a little bit. So he's recommending hide in a cave high up in the mountains. Okay, it makes sense. Okay, so let's go through the verses. We've done this a few times over the years, but let's go through them one more time of Revelation 6, 12 through 17. Then I watched as he broke the sixth seal, and there was a great earthquake. That's a micronova unlocking the crust. The mantle would break free. Think of it as molasses, and so the crust is moving on molasses compared to the core, and so it'll just twist at that point in time. The sun turned black as an eclipse? No, as the final stage of micronova. And it's called Sakos Trichonos in the Greek, which is like the sun is wearing a covering of a mourning covering, why am I blanking on the? It's wearing a mourning coat, basically, of dust. Okay, and so the Greek matches with the physics of this. Trichonos would be mohair. It would be angora. Okay, and it's shiny. It's pretty, but it's worn in mourning. And you'll see that the 3 days darkness would occur before this, and the full moon became blood red. Yes, it is in the text. So it's matching up between the sun and the moon. We'll discuss that more. So the next one coming up is September 7th, 2025. The stars fell from heaven to earth. That could be as small as dust. It could be a micronova dust accumulation event. Just as a fig tree drops, and I'm arguing probably winter fig timing, drops its figs when shaken by a strong wind. That's Revelation 6, 12 through 13. So you're going to see things like the solar flare. You're going to see auroras. You're going to see storms a few weeks later. You're going to see earthquakes. You're going to see the anomalies open up all over the place, and the windows of heaven are going to open. And then you'll eventually see the twisting. The solar proton surge will cause the Earth to twist about 90 degrees. And God is associating it with the sun and the moon, different signs, a micronova on the sun, but the eclipse of the moon. He's saying, watch the eclipses. Here's the dates of the eclipses coming up. So, moving forward into Revelation 6, 14 through 15, the sky receded like a little scroll, like a Megillah. That's the smaller scroll, not worldwide, being rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved. Not far, but far enough from its place. Then the earth's kings, the rulers, the generals, the rich, the mighty, indeed everyone, slave and free, hid himself in caves and among the rocks in the mountains. When this occurs, everyone will know about it. And the earth's kings will know, and so obviously this will be announced. And they will say to the mountains and the rocks and the bunkers, fall on us and hide us from the face of the one sitting on the throne and from the fury, the orge, of the Lamb. This is proof that the rich and the poor will be aware of the sixth seal. For the great day of their fury, orge again, has come, and who can stand? So that's ending up Revelation. And let's go back to this just for a second. You can see the eclipses. This is from the Economist magazine. And so you can see the men jousting for war, the ballot boxes, the AI, but the time is running out. And I'll show you that in a little while. So this is the end of what occurs during the bowls, okay, the fourth and the fifth bowl. And we can see now that things are starting to wobble more. So this is from Isaiah 24. Oh, how the traitors betray and betray. Terror, pit, and trap are upon you. You who live are living on the earth. He who flees at the sound of terror will fall into the pit. He who climbs up out of the pit will be caught in the trap. For the windows, arubah in the Hebrew, which is H699, these are floodgates, lattice, sluice. It's the magnetosphere above has been opened, and the earth's foundations shake, the earth cracks and breaks open, the earth crumbles to pieces, the earth trembles and totters, the earth staggers to and fro like a drunk, sways back and forth like a watchman's shelter, its transgression weighs heavy upon it, it will fall and not rise again. So, Israel is just going to move sideways. The rest of us are going to flip and go 90 degrees. And some of us are going to end up on the South Pole, some on the North Pole. Some of us, like Greenland, is going to be in the best shape possible. You wonder why Trump wants Alberta and Greenland. He knows what's happening, okay? Keep in mind, 4.6 billion people will arrive at the North Pole. Interesting. Okay, so this is a geomagnetic jerk. And this shows this hook, this jerk, it's getting worse, okay? So new data as of April 21st of 2025 reveals an anomaly in Earth's rotation. The axial path, highlighted in red, has transgressed previous inner paths over the last 7 months, a significant departure against a record spanning over 2 decades. From the chart source 1 from June 26th of 2024 to January 16th of 2025, blue path, Earth's axis rotation made an unprecedented rapid oval shaped tilt inward spanning 7 months. It made an anomalous up quick hook inward, an unprecedented behavior. The path of Earth's axis rotation crossed over 10 years of circular rotations and now suddenly a tight oval, a major warning sign that something has disturbed the rotation and tilt of the Earth. Interesting. This is from Craig Stone. He knows what's going on. This is a dream from Beverly. We're getting into the dream and prophecy section. Beverly's a friend. She lives in California. Wonderful person. Her dream of 10/26/24, and she's saying there are 2 orbs in the sky. I'm assuming one's the moon, one's the sun. The sun seems to kick off what is like tongues of fire. Remember when I showed you the first slide, early slide, where it showed the tongues of fire coming from the sun? That is a sign. And then the moon seemed to be showing that the cycles mattered. New moon, first signs of the new moon, and then the full moon seem to matter, and that will match up with what's going to occur. You're going to be affected. That's why you got to be protected. I asked what I need to do and how to prepare. Is it a nuke? No, it's not a nuke. Then I heard drinking water. So God is trying to warn her, get some water together so when things go bad. So let's say that you have a blackout or a brownout. You need water, okay? You need food, but water also. So you're going to have potable water to get by. I live on a lake and I live right by an artesian, so I'm kind of set for water. But most people will need it. If you live in Las Vegas, you need water. This is from Tom Horn. I cite this frequently now. This could still occur. We could still kick it off, not in June, but he's citing Pentecost coming up. Not in September, but probably more like November of this year. It could actually kick off. And then the pole flip acceleration would occur, and then the 7 bowls would be poured out from 2029 to 2032, and then he's saying the end of it would be 2032. Interesting. It's Tom Horn. He's dead now, but it is intriguing and possible. I never believed in it before. What's June all about? This is our short-term stuff. It just started today. I'm recording on June 1st. It's not prideful, not in my bag. So basically, I'm going to have Courtney Turner on June 11th, and then Mark Biltz on June 12th to discuss. First, Courtney will discuss all the Luciferian stuff going on, Aleister Crowley, Alice Bailey, all the junk. Then Mark's going to go through the blood moon eclipses and what's going on in the world and how we seem to be in the midst of a pattern as of June 11th and June 12th, the midpoint between the blood moon eclipses. And what do the blood moon eclipses mean? So join us. It'll be fun. So Michael Bodea, Dimitri Duduman, the prophecies, Mystery Babylon seems to be America, guys. Tell them it's because all the nations of the world emigrated to America with their own gods and were not stopped. Encouraged by the freedom here, the wickedness began to increase. Later on, even though America was established as a Christian nation, the American people began to teach or follow the strange gods that the immigrants had brought in and also turned their backs on the God who had built and prospered the country. So this is from, so basically Michael Bodea, I'm going to be citing it on the next couple of slides here, as of 5/27 of 25. Yeah, it says 2/27, it's 5/27. Sorry, Michael, I have to correct you. But it's Hand of Help Ministries, and about Dimitri, he was a wonderful man. Michael's a great man. Wonderful, wonderful guy. But I want you to read the prophecies with me because we're pretty much done. A prophecy, numbered days. Awaken, my people, says the voice of the Lord. Be passive no longer. Draw closer today more than ever, for the day of my vengeance is ready to begin. I will shake the earth from its foundation. I will require punishment of all those that say they will do my will, yet through what they do, they blaspheme my name. I will punish prophets, preachers, singers, and all those that do a work, yet they do it for their own glory. I will judge and punish the entire world. Only those that today sit at my feet in meekness, weeping and worshiping me, asking for my help. I will rejoice in the protection of the arm of the Lord on that day. Forsake every evil thought, all the empty words, all covetousness, pride, and hypocrisy, because in whatever you are used, It is not you doing it, but I, the Lord. Where are my clean gifts that I have poured out among you? Speaking in tongues, prophecy, and other gifts that were given to you. Where is my power, says the Lord? So this will continue on to the next page. So change your hearts today, my people, for the days are numbered, and I will begin to avenge. My eyes sees in the light as well as in the darkness, my people. There is nowhere you can hide from the eye of God. Liars, impostors, those that are covetous, and those that have only a form of godliness but deny the power of God, I will judge them, and I will judge the whole world. I will shake it from its foundations. Do you match up with what's going on with the other stuff that I showed you? In many places, there will be massacres. Those that today worship me with faithfulness will be the only ones protected on that day. The horn is ready to sound for the start of the battle. The days are numbered until you will hear the sound when the armies of heaven will begin the battle against the inhabitants of the earth. No army in the world will be able to stand against the armies of heaven, and the army of hell will not be able to raise its head against the Lord's army. Yet those that worship me in spirit and truth, I will protect, for I am God. Everything you see around you will be no more. Everything will be destroyed and burned in fire. Do not be passive. Draw close to me, for I come to avenge and fulfill all that has been said in the past, says the Lord. That's Dimitri Duduman again. And Michael showed this just the other day in his video. He had Gino read this. But basically, that's his way of saying this is getting real close, people. You need to get closer to God than ever before because we're getting into the time of the birth pangs, deeper where we're getting closer to the tribulation. We're not in the tribulation or great tribulation, but we're getting close to the sixth seal. I can see these pieces of it being put together. And so you need to work on you and your family, your loved ones, because you're going to get married. You can't be naked. You need clean clothes. It's a Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur or Sukkot of an upcoming year. It'll be a wedding. Get ready for the wedding. Thank you very much for the time. Thank you very much again for all the blessings that I get to give you, these wonderful videos weekly, and be blessed.